And it's good morning to the Gelding Derby Day at Flemington. Does it get any better?
Uh, Good morning, Professor. Good morning, listeners. Well, Derby Day, regarded was regarded as Victoria's best days racing, and with three Group Ones on it, yeah, probably is still a very good day. But I've got to admit, since they've changed the schedule around the Victorian Racing Club, they're making that last day, Championships Days, probably as good as Derby Day. But here we have the more or less a 3-year-old carnival today. We've got the Derby. We've got the Coolmore Stud Stakes, the sprint for 3-year-olds. You got the Wakeful for 3-year-olds. And of course, you've got the Carbine Club Stakes for 3-year-olds. So plenty of races. And then race 2, of course, Professor. You've got another 3-year-old race for the fillies, which we had a nomination for.
Yes, Gelding, the TAB Vanity.
Yeah, it would have been an interesting day. But I've got to admit, Professor, I'm probably not that upset we're not running in it after a luckless run on Wednesday with our horse. But did you see some of the prices of some of the areas they were suggesting?
Yes, I'm glad we didn't have to go, Gelding. It'd be terrible, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, 500. Like, did you see some of the rooms they were asking $595 before you have a drink or a bet?
Oh, it's outrageous, Gelding. We've
You eat
spoken
what
about
odds,
that.
Professor?
Yeah, and only 9 race card, Gelding. What's going on there?
Well, Professor, you watch Cup Day. There'll be 10, and there'll be 10 races during the week. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but interesting. But racing clubs, Professor, can't make up their mind what they're doing, eh?
No, they can't, Gelding. All right, the first's at 12:20 p.m., the last at 5:40 p.m. So there's a race every 20 minutes. As we said, the feature race 7, the Victoria Derby, a Group 1 for 3-year-olds over 2,500 metres, worth $2 million. Gelding?
Yes,
There's
Professor.
there's a race in Sydney that's worth more than that today.
Well, there's one race in Sydney that would cover the whole prize money for the for the Flemington races today. And look, Professor, just going back on the pricing, I don't want to get on the soapbox. I was watching a racing show during the week. Now they're saying we're going to get a fantastic crowd of 80,000. Now I remember going to races 10 years ago. Each day of the carnival, they got over 100,000 people there. Right? So going back on this pricing thing, how can people say like 80,000 is still fantastic and a great crowd, but that's losing 20% of your market? Now, would you know any other business that over 10 or 20 years lost 20% of the market would be saying, oh, aren't we doing a great job?
Well, Gelding, figures don't lie. Not in this case, do they?
No. So, well, just for next week, we'll just keep a track of the crowds, Professor, going to the races. And as I was saying, years ago when we used to go, like I think one Oaks Day, there was 120,000 there. And the Melbourne Cup always got over 100,000. So it'll be interesting to see which day, people decide to go to, because it used to be Derby Day and the Cup were the great days. And then Oaks Day became Blake's Day. And then the last day was kind of a family day, so there was a lesser crowd there. But, I'm just going to keep an eye on the crowds, Professor. But look, beautiful day. Let's get some winners.
Tracks are good for Gelding, the rail in the true position, which we like to see. What are your 2 best bets for today's Derby Day meeting?
Yeah, Professor. Look, as I was saying to you before off air, a very hard day. Good horses are running. I wouldn't turn anyone off backing anything they wanted to back because, there's 6 or 7 chances in every race, Professor. So all very good. Look, Flemington rail in the true position with northerly winds normally suits horses who are sitting off the pace midfield towards and sometimes from the back, and can normally come down the centre of the track. But look, again, the normal look out for punters is just have a look how the early races are going, see where the patterns of racing are developing and all that, and then consider the pace in the races. My first bet today, Professor, will be in race 4. Horse number 5, Jimmy Star. This horse is just incredible form, Professor. Kieran Maher has got it absolutely flying. Blake Shin, undefeated on this horse, back from the spell, has had 2 wins. We saw it race Caulfield Guineas Day at Caulfield, Professor, where it was impossible to come out to the middle of the track from back in the field and win. That's exactly what Jimmy Star did. A lot of horses didn't do it that day. I think this horse is absolutely flying and hopefully will get us away, Professor. Race 4, number 5, Jimmy Star. Again, leading trainer Kieran Maher, leading jockey Blake Shin on board. That'll do me, Professor, to get us away. I'm leaving the Derby alone, Professor, but going the Coolmore Stud Stakes. As I said to you off air, Professor, I think anything of about 8 to 10 horses could win this, and we've backed probably 8 or 10 different horses. So it's probably the best 3-year-old sprinting event. We've got all the good runners here today, Professor, but I'm going with one we've stuck with all the way in Growing Empire, owned by Yulin Investments, that owned Via Sistina last week. Growing Empire 4 starts this campaign. It won its first 2, was then popped in the Group 1 Manicato against the older sprinters when I think we might have been willowed, Professor. He might have been getting in a nice position for the photo when taken by Southern Import. I thought it ran fantastic. Then 2 weeks ago, it ran in the Everest and ran 3rd in the Everest, Professor. It comes back against its own age, 3-year-olds. It's won at Flemington, trained by Mar, ridden by Mark Zara, who's in great form, gets on board from Craig Williams. I just think, look, it's a horse we've been with. It's been good to us. So I'll be sticking to that. Of course, dangers with Traffic Warden, Switzerland, First Settler, Coleman, the 2 fillies, Lady of Camelot, Bellatrix Star, they can all win, but happy with round about the $3.50 for Growing Empire. What I might suggest is if people wait, we might get round about the each way $4 price, Professor. So my 2 race 4, number 5, Jimmy Star, and into race 6, number 1, Growing Empire. And you like, Professor?
Yeah, Gelding, going a little bit earlier than your first selection. In race 2, the TAB Vanity, which we, as you said, we could have had a runner in today, but unluckily no. Over 1,400 metres. It's a Group 3 for 3-year-old fillies. I like in this one, Gelding, horse number 5, Zaitun, coming out of Barrier 2. It's had 8 starts for 2 wins and 2 placings, so a 25% win rate, 50% place rate. What do I like about this one? Well, Gelding, that last start, it ran second in a Group 2, the 1,000 Guineas Prelude, and it was beaten by today's top weight, Two Darn Lizzie. I thought the track. Remember the track bias at Caulfield that day, Gelding. That if you were
yes.
leading, you were fine.
Yes.
And if you weren't leading, you weren't anywhere. Well, Zaitung wasn't leading, and Two Darn Lizzie was.
Yes.
So I need to say no more about that race. But today, Zaitung comes in 2.5 kilos better off. And I think the barrier draw suits it, Gelding. And at $5 and $2 at the present time, I think that's terrific value. Mark Zara in the saddle, a good jockey who's on Growing Empire as well. So we're looking for him to get at least a double today, Gelding.
Yes.
And it's a Blue Army horse, so you can't go wrong with that.
No, I like it, Professor. Very good. And a very open race again. But as you said, you're getting the nice each-way odds.
You are, Gelding, and that's the big saver for it. My second selection, Gelding's in race 5, the Wakeful Stakes, 2,000 metre Group 2 for 3-year-old fillies. I like in this one the top weight, Gelding, Jenny's Meadow, coming out of barrier 5. Had 9 starts for only 2 wins and a placing, so a 22% win rate, a 33% place rate. Last start second in the Group 3 Ethereal Stakes over the same distance, Gelding. So I like it's run over the same distance. And that was to Too Darn Discreet. It lost by less than half a length, Gelding. Too Darn Discreet's running in the Oaks on Thursday, Gelding.
Yep.
So I like the form guide. It'll have early speed from a good barrier, so I like it. And there's certainly value in this race, Gelding. $9 you can get at the moment with $2.50. So great each way odds for punters. If we get up, Gelding, GM Racing will be looking very well.
Hopefully, GM Racing has a very good day, Professor.
Yes, well, Ethan Brown's in the saddle and, of course, trained by the Hayes brothers.
The Hayes boys are absolutely firing. Fantastic up-and-coming jockey, Ethan Brown. So, yeah, look, I like it, Professor. And as we said, again, another race where you're getting fantastic odds for an informed horse because of it being a very open race. But just fantastic.
Yeah, and you're spot on, Gelding, with the Hayes being in top form at the moment. 14% career win rate, but over the last 50, Gelding, they've lifted that to 18%. So we look for them to take it a step further today. So my 2 bets, Gelding, race 2, horse 5, Zaitung, and race 5, horse 1, Jenny's Meadow. I noticed one thing, Gelding. Today I looked through the fields. Our trainer only has 1 horse running today.
Yeah, very surprising, actually.
Yeah,
I would have thought for a leading stable.
Yes, and Lukey Nolan's only race for the day.
Yes. Yes. Well, sometimes we just have to say yes, Professor.
Yes, Gelding. And so now we'll move on to the Professor's Parlay, which unfortunately hit a early hurdle last week. Pride of Jenny, 8th out of 9.
Yes, very, very disappointing. So,
well, I did a little bit of research, Gelding, and the horse looked like it was out of gas, clearly.
Yep.
Had a very long campaign, Gelding. It's run in 9 group races this year already. That's a lot of group races to run in 1 year.
Yeah, and look, I would say Kieran Maher wouldn't have run the horse in a race unless he thought the horse was capable of it. But I'm like you, Professor, in hindsight.
Yes.
Again, it was taken on a bit at the start to have to work a bit harder and all that. So maybe 2 hard runs where it was taken on early because of the way it was winning previously. It was just getting out in front and doing it as it's like and was able to pace itself. Jockey's tactics are now to take it on to make it do some work. So it might be a bit harder. And she's been a fantastic horse to us and to everyone, Pride of Jenny. So, look, it was a disappointing run last week, but, maybe a nice rest before. Be interesting to see whether Kieran Maher runs it again or just puts it out for a good long rest in the paddock before the autumn.
Well, it might might have a rest like another horse we know till the autumn, Gelding. Anyway, the Professor's Parlay is currently running 18 of 43, so we're back to 42%. So we're still above the 40% plimsoll line.
Oh, it's still a good percentage, right, Professor? 4 out of 10 bets are getting up.
It is, Gelding. All right. So this week's Professor's Parlay, the agreed bet of the day between you and I, Gelding, is race 4, horse 5, Jimmy Star, for all the reasons that you mentioned earlier. And we'll parlay that into the NFL in both other legs today, Gelding. The Philadelphia Eagles playing at home to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Philadelphia Eagles currently 7th in the NFC. They've won 5 of 7, so that's pretty good form, Gelding.
Yep.
The Jacksonville Jaguars, they started off like a German band, Gelding. They were going very strongly, but they're now dropped to 14th in the AFC. It's the second week on the road for them, Gelding. They've only won 2 out of 8.
Did they have a big Oktoberfest, Professor?
They must. I think they must have had a big October, Gelding, because they've run out of puff. The line's 7.5, so I like that. The bookies don't like them. And we'll parlay that into the Kansas City Chiefs. They're at home and need to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chiefs haven't put a foot wrong, Gelding. They're number 1 in the AFC. They've won 7 of 7. And in my opinion, they haven't played well yet.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, Professor. They're undefeated, yet you just have a look at them and they didn't seem to have the spark of the years that they were the champions of the world.
Exactly.
But, when you've got Mahomes and Kelsey, I suppose you can't do much wrong, can you?
No, it's pretty good starting duo, isn't it, Gelding?
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have lost their 2 best wide receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Godwin gone for the season. Evans gone for at least another couple of weeks with a hamstring. And their early form, they've won 4 of 8, Gelding, but they've lost 3 out of the last 4 since they've had those wide receiver problems. And
their firepower's gone.
Yeah, you can't have a wide receiver problem against the Kansas City Chiefs. The line's 9.5. Bookies don't like them either, so that's good enough for me. So Professor's Parlay this week is race 4, horse 5, Jimmy Star into the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, into the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Gelding. So that's it for Derby Day today. But viewers have got a plethora of That's Racing sessions coming up with Tuesday, Cup Day. We'll be back for that. A special 9 o'clock version of the Cup Day edition of That's Racing, Gelding, because, of course, the first race is at 10:45 on Cup Day. Give the punters time to get their bets on. Then we've got an Oaks Day Thursday session of That's Racing, and then finish it off with the end of the 4-day carnival next Saturday.
Oh, Professor, plenty of races. And may I just give you a little bit of congratulations, Professor. Today being the 200th show.
Yes, Gelding. I was going to mention that at the start, but we just got straight into the racing discussion. Right. Yes, 200 shows. That's a pretty big feather in our caps, Gelding.
Oh, Professor, I reckon you'll run for the 200. I reckon I'll probably miss 1 or 2 along the way. So you'll probably run the 200 and I'm probably running about 197 or 196 or something.
Well, 200 shows on the air, Gelding. That's a pretty good milestone, isn't it, really?
It's fantastic, Professor. And they're always a bit of fun. And we hope we've brought the listeners, a bit of fun, but also, a bit of money in their pockets sometimes. So always good. And it's always good to get the listeners' feedbacks with a bit of banter and that with, we've had with a few, which means we must catch up with Mr. Brett Hogan very soon. So we will be arranging that, Professor. But congratulations on 200 shows.
Thanks, Gelding, and congratulations to you too. And hopefully the viewers have got some good tips from us over those 200. I know that during last year's Cup Carnival, we had a pretty stellar ride there, Gelding. We made a lot of money over the Cup Carnival last year.
Yep. Still waiting from a few of our listeners to deliver on their collects, Professor. So
they might get the B tips this year, Gelding.
Yes, we might even go C tips for some.
All right, Gelding. Well, until the Cup Day edition at 9 a.m, it's good luck.